Soon there'll be 1 trillion connected devices in the world.
Can you hear them?
Food is talking to store shelves.
Cargo containers are talking to supply chains.
Power lines are talking to the grid.
Now that's smart.
Systems that allow carrots to tell truck drivers how fresh they are.
Roads alert cars about traffic patterns.
Cars alert mechanics before they break down.
When things communicate,
Systems connect.
when systems connect,
The world gets smarter.
that's what I'm working on.
I'm an IBMer. Let's build a smarter planet.
Hello, this is episode 7 of our series The Bottom Line, brought to you by Telecom TV and sponsored by IBM. More than half of all humanity now lives in cities, and by 2050, that's just 40 years from now, an astonishing 75% of the world's population will be crammed into urban areas, including sprawling megacities such as Cairo, Mexico City, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Shanghai and Tokyo. Thus, we are witnessing the development of new economic and social policy that leverages ICT as the next utility for integrated city management. That this is needed now is evidenced by the fact that just 20 cities around the globe are responsible for 75% of the planet's energy consumption.
The cities are starting to get it, and we are living in an increasingly urban world. And people are going to be living in these big mega cities with 20, 30 million people in. So we've got to start to plan those cities incredibly carefully and smartly if people are going to be able to coexist and not do too much damage to the planet. So urban planners are beginning to think about, okay, how do we make those cities sustainable? How do we collect information about how people need to travel, their energy use and so on?
Almost all economic growth already occurs in cities, and that trend will only continue and accelerate as more and more rural dwellers gravitate to urban areas in search of a better life. Cities are, after all, where most of the people are, where most jobs are located, where most economic activity takes place, where most gross domestic product is generated, and where most energy and resources are consumed.
There's no reason for any buildings to be built today that is not generating more energy than it's using. So all of a sudden, the world's largest user of energy, buildings, which is contributing to about 40% of world's emission, could be turned into a solution. But then we need these sort of intelligent solutions, broadband connectivity, because otherwise you would not be able to make the interior smart. You can't design it in a smart way. You can't control the electricity use so it's optimal.
The modern city is in fact a system of systems, providing and delivering services based on complex communications networks and infrastructures.
Being the ICT champion for Singapore, the focus on IT equipment, the focus on data centers is quite appropriate for us. But ICT can also be used as the smarts in the other areas. These other areas could be transportation, could be even healthcare, or even electricity distribution and so on. The intelligence provided by ICT and the communications capability provided by ICT can result in better management of these services so that we improve the overall efficiency.
Russia is just, we've got roads built in the 70s for traffic of the newly rich middle-class car-owning or two-car-owning families. The compatibility is low. So the traffic, I've never seen anything like the traffic jams in Moscow. Siemens came up with a solution where if you download a little app to each mobile phone that's in a car driving, then what you can do is you can get the traffic lights in the city to respond according to the dynamic traffic flow on the roads. So that means the traffic lights are regulated by grassroots, they're regulated by the actual traffic. And that can give you savings of up to 35% in traffic queues.
Those responsible for ensuring that infrastructures and networks continue to operate at peak efficiency will need to have deep understanding of all underlying systems and processes.
San Francisco has a problem that many urban cities have. It rains a lot, and that rainwater goes into the sewage system, and raw sewage ends up in places that you and I and the city don't want it. Well, by embedding sensors into the pipes, they know exactly on a real-time basis during a storm where sections of the system, and the system is 1,000 miles long, 1,000 miles of pipe, where sections of the system are being taxed. and they can actually reroute some of that rainwater.
We need to move quickly, we need to scale quickly, but we also need to be laboratories of innovation. We need to allow cities around the world to experiment quickly, to adopt new strategies, to learn from those strategies, whether or not things are working, and then to be able to produce strategies again to allow their successes to be advanced and share the failures so they're not advanced around the rest of the globe.
What's more, the smarter home is no longer a science fiction dream, but a nascent reality.
OpenNet now cabling up the buildings and starting with the homes. Nucleus Connect, which is the OpCo, will follow closely behind, and then they will push this out to the RSPs. We hope that by the end of the first half of 2010, we will see commercial services being made available.
So, what's the bottom line to take away from this episode? Well, as far as smarter cities are concerned, it's that service providers will be absolutely key to realising and managing those systems of systems. The potential opportunities are legion because service providers will be able to leverage their core competencies and expertise to move into adjacent vertical markets such as citizen information portals, machine-to-machine data collection, hosted platforms for common services, telehealth, public safety, traffic management and smart grid support. And the sky's the limit too as far as the smarter home sector goes. For example, service providers will be able to make hosted offerings via the cloud in partnership with utility and security companies as part of a traditional service bundle rather than as something outside the norm. What's more, they can also utilise their broadband networks to build solutions around the home. One key weapon in the service provider's armoury is their ability rapidly to integrate and test new devices, applications and services, use major network and IT assets to maximum efficiency, and bundle and orchestrate traditional communication services. The opportunities and the potentialities are, once again, absolutely enormous.
Most of the vendors are headed towards, if you like, point-to-point communication between the appliance and the service provider. The more intelligent thing as we move forward would be for these appliances to use the communications capability to communicate amongst one another. Much more importantly, once they start communicating, there's a huge amount of information that's exchanged. The home is really one of the places where the smarter planet can be used to make our lifestyles a lot better and much improved.
It's really around how do you help citizens have a better way of life in the city, both from a safety perspective, from a perspective of how they can get goods and services from within the city. And there's lots of information that can be collected through sensors, for example, through surveillance cameras, through sensors that you'll find in a vehicle, through your cell phone. Because your cell phone provides a tremendous amount of information that, if collected in the right way, can provide tremendous value to the citizens of the city. But I think there's another opportunity here for IBM to work with service providers, and this is really around creating a cloud environment where IBM could be an aggregator across different service providers. So for example, if I'm the mayor of New York, I want to serve all the citizens in New York, not just the citizens of AT&T or the citizens of Verizon or the citizens that use Sprint, but rather I want to collect the data from all the service providers, bring it into a centralized place like a cloud, and do the analytics on that information so I can get a complete view of all the citizens in my city and provide everyone the same service.
In the next episode of The Bottom Line, we will focus on smart consumers.